Everything begins long before you see results. Success doesn't start the day you get the promotion, the day your business takes off, or the day people start recognizing your work. It begins in silence, inside your mind, on the day you make a real decision about who you are going to become. Most people think success is an outcome, but in truth, it's a mindset that eventually manifests as an outcome. The moment you make that decision, even before anything changes in your reality, something shifts in your identity. You stop thinking asterisk if asterisk it's possible and start thinking asterisk how asterisk it's possible. That's the first and most critical transformation. The difference between those who create extraordinary results and those who remain stuck isn't opportunity, it's mental commitment. It's the depth of their decision. Everyone dreams, but very few decide. A dream is a wish that lives in your imagination. A decision is a promise that lives in your behavior. When you decide, your mind stops wandering between options. You stop negotiating with your fears and begin directing your focus toward what must be done. That single internal decision sets the direction for everything that follows. But the truth is, the mind doesn't change easily. It's programmed to seek safety, not growth. So when you decide to succeed, you're not just choosing a goal. You're declaring war on your comfort zone. Your old beliefs will resist. Doubt will whisper that you're not ready, that you don't have enough resources, that maybe success is for someone else. And this is where most people retreat. They confuse discomfort with danger. They forget that discomfort is the first sign of transformation. If you want a new life, you must be willing to outgrow your old mind. This is why true success always feels lonely at the start. You begin to separate yourself from average thinking. You no longer see time as something to kill, but as something to invest. You start choosing purpose over pleasure, clarity over comfort, and growth over approval. People might not understand that shift, but that's okay. They're not supposed to. You're not living according to their decision. You're living according to yours. The moment your internal world changes, the external one starts to follow. It's just a matter of time. When you observe those who have achieved remarkable things, you'll notice they didn't wait for a miracle or a lucky break. They created alignment between thought, belief, and action. They decided who they wanted to be, and every choice they made afterwards reflected that decision. They weren't driven by mood. They were guided by mission. Their minds became the architects of their futures. Once that decision was made, doubt lost its power, because they were no longer debating the destination, only adjusting the route. Psychologically, this shift is profound. A clear decision reprograms your subconscious to filter the world differently. You begin to notice opportunities that align with your vision, people who resonate with your purpose, and paths that once seemed invisible. It's not that the world changed, it's that your perception did. Success starts as an internal vibration long before it becomes an external reality. That's why indecision is so dangerous. It scatters your energy, weakens your focus, and keeps you living in mental limbo. When you finally decide, your energy sharpens. You stop wasting time explaining your choices or justifying your path. You understand that success isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving yourself right. That inner clarity becomes your compass. You don't need every answer to move forward. You just need a reason strong enough to start. So if you want your life to change, don't wait for the right moment. Create it. Make a decision so powerful that your mind has no choice but to align with it. Once your decision is real, everything else begins to organize around it. Your actions, your habits, your opportunities, even the people you meet. Because at the end of the day, the world doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It responds to conviction, and conviction begins the moment you truly decide. Asterisk asterisk, your life changes the second your mind does. Decide who you are before the world tells you who to be. Asterisk asterisk, we all grow up believing that success belongs to those who have the best conditions, the right family, the right education, the right timing. But that's an illusion. Life doesn't hand success to the most prepared, it reveals it to the most determined. Every person who has ever built something meaningful decided to stop waiting for the perfect moment and chose to create progress out of imperfection. That's the real difference. Some people wait for life to change, while others decide to move even when everything around them says, "Not yet." When you depend on circumstances, you surrender your power. You make success conditional, something that will happen if the world gives you permission. But the truth is, life rarely offers permission, it offers resistance. It's not supposed to be easy because ease never builds depth. The moment you realize that success is not given but created, you stop asking "why me?" and start asking "what can I do now?" That question is the foundation of growth. It turns a victim into a creator. Most people overestimate the importance of resources and underestimate the power of resourcefulness. They think they need money, contacts, or a big opportunity before they can start. But if you look closely at the stories of great innovators, leaders, or visionaries, you'll see a pattern. They all began when it made no sense to begin. They didn't wait for the road to be clear. They walked first, and the path appeared later. The act of moving forward, despite uncertainty, is what forces life to respond. There's something psychological about action in imperfect conditions. It shifts your mindset from helplessness to leadership. You stop being reactive and become proactive. Instead of waiting for the wind to blow in your favor, you start learning how to sail through the storm. And when that happens, you gain something much more valuable than external success. You gain confidence. Because confidence isn't built by comfort, it's built by confronting chaos and realizing you can survive it. Think about it. If everything was perfect, you wouldn't need courage. If every door was open, you wouldn't need persistence. The struggle itself is part of the design. It's how life tests the sincerity of your decision. When you decide to succeed despite the circumstances, you send a message not just to the world, but to yourself, that you are in control of your story. That belief changes everything. Philosophically, this is where many people get stuck. They want to change their life, but they're secretly waiting for something external to shift first. Their job, their partner, the economy, the world. But waiting is the enemy of transformation. Time doesn't bring clarity, action does. You don't think your way into progress, you act your way into it. Even a small step taken in uncertainty carries more power than 1,000 plans waiting for certainty. The world belongs to those who choose to act with imperfect tools, imperfect timing, and imperfect understanding. Every success story is built on a foundation of uncertainty, but the decision to move forward creates momentum, and momentum creates opportunity. Once you begin, something remarkable happens. Circumstances start aligning, doors begin to open, people appear, and chances multiply. Not because luck suddenly favors you, but because your energy shifts from waiting to creating. You can't control the weather, but you can adjust your sails. You can't control other people, but you can control your attitude. You can't control the economy, but you can control your effort, and that control is enough. The people who change their lives are the ones who focus entirely on what they can do, not what they can't. That mindset is what transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary outcomes, so stop waiting for life to make it easier. It won't. The mountain won't shrink, you'll just get stronger. Every step you take, no matter how small, reaffirms your decision and weakens your excuses. The power to move forward, even in uncertainty, is the purest expression of freedom. Success doesn't come to those who wait for the right time. It comes to those who decide that now is the right time. Nothing in your life truly changes until you decide to take responsibility for it. Completely, unapologetically, and without excuses. That's the moment when growth begins. Because as long as you keep blaming circumstances, people, or luck for where you are, you give away your power to change where you're going. Responsibility is not about guilt or fault, it's about ownership. It's about saying, "This is my life, and no matter what happened before, what I do next is up to me." That single shift in perspective can transform not only your results, but your entire sense of identity. Many people think responsibility means carrying burdens. In reality, it's the opposite. It's liberation. The moment you take responsibility, you free yourself from waiting for others to make things right. You stop expecting fairness from a world that isn't designed to be fair, and instead, you learn to create balance through your actions. The truth is, the world doesn't owe us anything. It offers us opportunities disguised as challenges, lessons hidden inside setbacks. Those who succeed are not the ones who never face difficulty. They are the ones who stop using difficulty as an excuse to stand still. Responsibility is where maturity begins. It's easy to point fingers when life doesn't go as planned. It's easy to say the system, the market, or someone else is to blame. But here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Those who rise in life use challenges as fuel, not justification. They don't waste time explaining why they can't. They focus on finding how they can. They understand that while they can't control everything, they can always control their effort, their attitude, and their response. When you start to own your story, something powerful happens inside you. You begin to trust yourself. You no longer see yourself as a victim of life, but as a participant in its creation. That sense of ownership changes how you think, how you speak, how you show up every day. Responsibility sharpens your awareness. It connects you to reality. You start to see that every decision, every habit, and every delay has a consequence. Success is never random. It's the accumulated result of the choices we take responsibility for. Psychologically, responsibility reprograms your mind from helplessness to empowerment. When you take ownership, you signal to your subconscious that you are in control. That awareness increases confidence and resilience. Suddenly, setbacks are no longer signs to stop. They are feedback to adjust. This mindset is what turns an ordinary person into a leader. Leaders don't escape problems. They face them, learn from them, and move forward stronger. They understand that accountability isn't punishment, it's progress. There's a simple truth. You can't change what you refuse to own. If you keep running from responsibility, you also run from your own potential. Growth demands honesty, the courage to look at your life and say, "This is where I am, and it's up to me to change it." That honesty might hurt at first, but it's the kind of pain that heals. It's the discomfort that leads to clarity, and clarity is the foundation of all transformation. Philosophically, responsibility is the bridge between intention and reality. Everyone intends to do better, to improve, to succeed, but intention without ownership is just wishful thinking. The moment you say, "It's my decision, my effort, my outcome," you cross that bridge. And from there, progress becomes inevitable. You start acting with purpose instead of waiting for permission. So the next time life feels unfair, pause and ask yourself, what part of this can I take responsibility for? You'll be surprised by how much control you actually have. It might not be total control, but it's always enough to move forward. That's where power lies, in action, not reaction. Responsibility is not about taking the blame for everything. It's about taking command of something. It's the recognition that you are both the author and the editor of your story, and when you realize that, life stops happening to you and starts happening because of you. Asterisk, asterisk, when you take responsibility for your life, you stop chasing control. You become it. Asterisk, asterisk, discipline is the language through which every decision for success is spoken. It's easy to say, "I want to succeed." But that sentence only becomes real when it's translated into consistent action, when your daily behavior starts echoing your intentions. Everyone dreams of success, but only a few are willing to live in alignment with that dream every single day. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about persistence. It's the quiet, often uncomfortable commitment to keep showing up even when the excitement fades, when nobody is watching, and when results still seem far away. People often mistake motivation for discipline. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes like the weather. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision. It's what remains when motivation disappears. The truth is, you won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel ready. But the people who achieve extraordinary things are the ones who act even when they don't feel like it. They understand that feelings are unreliable, but habits are powerful. You cannot build a successful life on fleeting emotions. You build it on consistent behavior. The disciplined mind knows how to separate what it wants now from what it wants most. It understands the long game. It knows that short-term comfort often leads to long-term regret, while short-term sacrifice leads to lasting reward. This is a psychological maturity that few develop. Many people get trapped in a cycle of starting strong and giving up early because they're addicted to instant results. But real success is like planting a seed. You don't see progress right away, but every day you water it with effort, discipline, and faith. Eventually, it grows into something extraordinary. There's a quiet dignity in discipline. It doesn't seek applause. It doesn't depend on recognition. It's built in private but rewarded in public. The athlete training before sunrise, the entrepreneur learning when no one notices, the student reading when friends are out. These are the moments that shape destiny. Success doesn't demand brilliance, it demands consistency. Discipline transforms your decision into a lifestyle, your dream into a routine, your vision into a tangible reality. Psychologically, discipline rewires the mind for endurance. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you strengthen your self-respect. You build trust in your own word, and that's powerful because self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Without discipline, confidence is fragile. It depends on circumstances. But when you know you can rely on yourself to act, even when it's difficult, confidence becomes unshakable. Philosophically, discipline is freedom in disguise. People think discipline is restriction, but in truth, it's the opposite. Discipline frees you from chaos, from the burden of regret, from the control of impulses that sabotage progress. When you're disciplined, you're no longer a slave to mood or distraction. You become the master of your choices. It's through structure that creativity thrives, and it's through restraint that power finds direction. The beautiful thing about discipline is that it doesn't require extraordinary talent. It requires ordinary effort repeated consistently. It's not about doing everything right. It's about refusing to quit when things go wrong. Every act of discipline compounds. Every day of consistency builds momentum. Eventually, what once felt like effort becomes part of who you are. You stop chasing success and start embodying it. So if you want to see real change in your life, stop waiting for motivation. Create a system that reflects your decision. Wake up when you said you would. Do the work when it's least convenient. Keep the promise you made to yourself when no one else will hold you accountable. Discipline is not glamorous. It's gritty, repetitive, and often lonely, but that's exactly why it works. Because success doesn't come to those who occasionally try. It comes to those who consistently do. Discipline is the bridge between decision and destiny. Cross it daily, and success will have no choice but to meet you on the other side. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has walked through pain. Not the kind of pain that destroys, but the kind that refines. Growth, by its very nature, demands discomfort. Yet, most people spend their entire lives running from it, avoiding anything that stretches them, challenges them, or exposes their weaknesses. But here's the truth: every time you choose growth, life will test your decision through pain. It's not a punishment, it's a process. It's how life asks, do you really mean it? We often talk about wanting change, but what we really mean is that we want comfortable change. We want transformation without turbulence, strength without struggle, success without sacrifice. But that's not how evolution works. The seed cannot become a tree without breaking open. The caterpillar cannot become a butterfly without dissolving completely inside its cocoon. The pain of growth is the evidence that transformation is happening beneath the surface, There's a certain beauty in pain when you start to understand it differently. Pain is information. It tells you what needs to change, what needs to heal, what needs to evolve. Most people interpret pain as a signal to stop, but the wise see it as a signal to look deeper. When you embrace pain instead of escaping it, you turn it into a teacher. Every rejection, every failure, every setback carries within it a lesson that can only be learned through experience. And it's those lessons that shape character, resilience, and wisdom, the true currencies of success. Psychologically, pain plays a powerful role in rewiring the mind. It forces focus. When you're comfortable, you drift. When you're challenged, you grow sharper, more aware, more alive. Discomfort exposes what's weak and demands strength in its place. That's why people who have gone through struggle often carry a quiet confidence. They've met themselves in the fire and discovered they could survive it. They've learned that pain doesn't break you. It builds you if you let it. The danger is when we confuse pain with failure. Failure is not falling short. Failure is refusing to rise again. Every successful person has faced moments where quitting seemed easier. But instead of running from pain, they leaned into it. They understood that resilience is not built by comfort. It's built by persistence in adversity. Pain is not your enemy, avoidance is. Avoidance keeps you small. It convinces you that staying safe is smarter than striving. But safe never changes your story. Struggle does. Philosophically, pain is the price we pay for becoming who we're meant to be. Every great transformation carries a cost. The question isn't whether the cost is fair, it's whether the outcome is worth it. And the answer always is yes, because through pain we gain perspective, through struggle we gain strength, through loss we learn appreciation. Life's greatest gifts rarely come wrapped in comfort. They arrive disguised as challenges meant to awaken your potential. The moment you stop fearing pain, you start accelerating growth. You begin to see difficulty not as a wall, but as a doorway. Pain reveals what comfort hides, your limits, your fears, your untested strength. When you stop avoiding that confrontation, you reclaim your power. The people who rise to greatness aren't those who escape hardship. They're the ones who find purpose within it. So, when life becomes difficult, when progress feels heavy, when you start questioning whether it's worth it, remember this. The pain you're feeling is not the end of the journey, it's the beginning of evolution. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. Every discomfort is an invitation to grow beyond what you were yesterday. ***, pain is the proof that you're transforming. Don't run from it, rise through it. ***, belief is the invisible engine behind every great decision. You can have the perfect plan, the right skills, the best opportunities. But without belief, none of it holds power. Belief is what transforms thought into action and action into achievement. It's the quiet conviction that even if you can't see the entire path, you're still willing to take the first step. The people who succeed in life are not always the most intelligent or talented. They are the ones who believed the longest, even when no one else did. The human mind is an extraordinary machine. It creates the reality it expects. When you believe something deeply enough, your mind begins to organize your energy, your focus, and even your emotions around that idea. You start to see opportunities that others overlook, not because they weren't there before, but because your belief activates your awareness. Psychologically, this is called selective perception. You find what you expect to find. So, if you believe success is possible for you, you start behaving in ways that make it possible. If you believe it isn't, you unconsciously sabotage yourself at every turn. Belief doesn't just influence your world, it constructs it. But belief isn't blind optimism. It's not pretending everything will be easy. It's knowing that even if it's hard, it's still worth it. Real belief doesn't eliminate doubt. It coexists with it and keeps moving forward anyway. The truth is, doubt never disappears. It just gets quieter when belief gets stronger. Every visionary you admire, every leader, creator, or innovator had moments of uncertainty. What separated them was their decision to act on belief instead of hesitation. There's a saying that you don't get what you want, you get what you believe you deserve. And that's true. The limits in your life are rarely external, they're internal. You can't act consistently against what you believe to be false. If deep down you believe you're not capable, not ready, or not worthy, your actions will reflect that belief, no matter how much you try to hide it. But the moment you change that internal story, your energy shifts. Confidence isn't arrogance. It's alignment between your belief and your potential. Philosophically, belief is the foundation of all creation. Everything humanity has ever built, every invention, every movement, every idea, began as belief before it became real. The airplane, the light bulb, the internet, all started in someone's mind as conviction, long before anyone else could see it. The same principle applies to your life. The world you experience tomorrow will be shaped by the beliefs you hold today. So if you keep telling yourself you're not ready, that it's too late, or that it's too risky, you'll find endless proof that you're right. But if you choose to believe that growth is possible, that timing is irrelevant, and that effort multiplies, the world will start reflecting that belief back to you. Belief also requires courage, because when you believe in something deeply, especially something others doubt, you risk criticism. You risk standing alone, but that's the test of belief. It's easy to believe when everyone agrees with you. It's meaningful only when they don't. Every great success story begins with someone willing to look foolish for a while. The entrepreneur who launches a strange idea, the artist who creates something no one understands, the student who keeps going when others quit, all of them are fueled by belief that runs deeper than fear. The power of belief lies in its ability to sustain action through uncertainty. It gives you emotional endurance. When you believe something is possible, every obstacle becomes temporary, every failure becomes feedback, and every challenge becomes a lesson. Belief doesn't make the path easier, it makes it clearer. It turns struggle into strategy and setbacks into stepping stones. So, if you want your decision for success to hold power, feed your belief, protect it, speak it, build it with action every day until it becomes your natural state of being. Because once you truly believe, you stop trying, you start becoming. Asterisk asterisk, the moment you decide to believe, the impossible stops being impossible. It simply becomes inevitable. Asterisk asterisk, your environment is a mirror of your decisions. Every place you spend time in, every person you surround yourself with, every conversation you entertain, these things silently reflect your level of commitment to growth. People often underestimate how much their surroundings shape their destiny. You can't decide to succeed and keep living in the same environment that feeds your doubt, your distractions, and your old habits. Success demands alignment. Your mindset, your circle, and your atmosphere must all speak the same language as your vision. We like to think we're independent thinkers, but human behavior is deeply influenced by proximity. Psychologically, we become what we're around. You pick up the energy, the tone, and even the mindset of the people you consistently engage with. If you surround yourself with negativity, you begin to doubt your potential. If you surround yourself with ambition, you start believing in possibilities. This is not about arrogance, it's about awareness. You can't build a strong mind in a weak environment. When you decide to pursue something meaningful, your environment will either accelerate your progress or drain your energy. It's not just about people, it's also about habits, routines, and the atmosphere you create for yourself. Look at your daily environment and ask, does this space remind me of my goals, or does it distract me from them? Does it elevate my thinking, or keep me in cycles of comfort? Growth often begins with rearranging your surroundings to match your decision. Sometimes that means cleaning your space, limiting social media, or choosing silence over noise. And yes, sometimes it means outgrowing people. That's one of the hardest parts of growth. Realizing that not everyone who started the journey with you is meant to finish it with you. Some people will encourage your old self, not your new one. They'll love your potential only if it stays small enough to not make them uncomfortable. But growth requires courage, to keep moving forward even when it means walking alone for a while. The more you evolve, the more selective you must become with your energy. It's not about cutting people out, it's about protecting your direction. Philosophically, environment reflects belief. When you truly believe you're destined for more, you stop tolerating what drains you. You start designing your world with intention, choosing who you listen to, what you consume, and where you invest your time. You understand that energy is currency, and spending it carelessly can bankrupt your progress. That's why successful people guard their space fiercely. They know one negative voice can delay a year of progress, and one good influence can change the trajectory of a lifetime. This doesn't mean your environment has to be perfect. It just needs to support your purpose. It needs to challenge you, inspire you, and hold you accountable. The right people won't just celebrate your victories. They'll push you to aim higher when you start settling. The right atmosphere won't just comfort you when you're tired. It'll remind you why you started. That's the difference between an environment of growth and one of stagnation. You can't decide to live differently while surrounding yourself with the same patterns. Change your space and you'll change your state. Build a circle where ambition is normal, where conversations revolve around ideas instead of complaints, and where consistency is celebrated more than comfort. Create an environment that reflects where you're going, not where you've been. Because your external world eventually molds your internal world. And your internal world determines your future. So if you're serious about success, look around you. Ask yourself if your environment reflects your decision or contradicts it. Because the truth is simple, you can't build a new life in the same environment that created the old one. Asterisk asterisk, when your environment matches your vision, success stops being a struggle. It becomes a natural outcome. Asterisk asterisk, a decision without action is just imagination. You can think about success all day, talk about it, visualize it, even pray for it. But until you take consistent, deliberate action, nothing changes. Action is the oxygen that gives life to your decision. It's where dreams leave the comfort of your mind and step into the friction of reality. And it's that friction, that resistance, that turns ideas into achievements. Many people decide to succeed, but only a few act like it every single day. The difference between the two isn't knowledge, it's motion. We often wait for the perfect plan before we move. We tell ourselves, when I'm ready, I'll start, or when things settle down, I'll act. But the truth is, no one is ever completely ready. The conditions will never be ideal. Waiting for the perfect moment is just another form of fear. Fear dressed as logic. You don't learn before you act, you learn by acting. You don't gain clarity by standing still. Clarity comes from movement. Every step you take, even the uncertain ones, teaches you something that thinking never could. Psychologically, action creates momentum. The brain rewards movement with motivation. Most people think they need to feel motivated first, but motivation is a result, not a prerequisite. When you act, even in small ways, your mind starts to believe maybe this is possible. That belief builds energy, and that energy builds progress. But if you wait for motivation to arrive before you act, you'll stay stuck in the same loop, thinking, planning, doubting, and repeating. Action breaks that cycle. It interrupts hesitation and forces growth. Every act of doing reshapes your identity. The more you take action, the more you start to see yourself as someone capable of results. That shift is powerful. You no longer say, I hope I can. You start saying, I always do. Confidence doesn't come from convincing yourself. It comes from evidence, and evidence only comes from action. Every small win becomes a piece of proof that reinforces your decision to succeed. Philosophically, action is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Every dream starts as a thought, but it becomes real only through movement. Think about it. Every invention, every innovation, every achievement in human history was born from someone who refused to keep their ideas trapped in their minds. They took imperfect action, faced rejection, failed repeatedly, and kept moving forward. That's how progress is made, through motion, not mastery. And here's the truth most people don't like to face. Indecision kills more dreams than failure ever will. Failure gives you lessons. Hesitation gives you regret. The person who tries and falls is always closer to success than the one who never started, because each attempt, no matter how small, refines your direction. Action turns confusion into clarity. It reveals what works, what doesn't, and who you're becoming in the process. There's also a spiritual dimension to action. When you act, you signal to the universe that you're serious about your intention. You align your energy with your words. Life responds to that kind of conviction. Doors begin to open, opportunities begin to appear, and people begin to notice your effort. It's not magic, it's alignment. The world moves for those who move, so don't overthink the first step. Just take it. You don't need to know the entire path, only the next move. Progress is built one action at a time, and those small actions, done consistently, create massive transformation. It's not about speed, it's about momentum. Keep moving, keep adjusting, keep showing up, because even slow progress is infinitely faster than standing still. In the end, your dreams don't fail because they're impossible. They fail because they're never acted upon. The gap between what you want and what you have is not time, talent, or luck, it's action. Start moving, and success will start moving toward you. Success is not a straight line. It's a series of adjustments, a process of constant self-correction. When people say success is a decision, they often imagine that decision as a single grand moment, a burst of inspiration where everything suddenly becomes clear. But in truth, success is not one big decision, it's 1,000 small ones made every day. Every choice, every reaction, every adaptation determines whether that original decision will survive or fade away. Life will constantly test your commitment, and the question is not whether you decided once, but whether you will keep deciding again and again, especially when things don't go as planned. The world changes faster than ever before. Markets shift, technologies evolve, people move on, and yesterday's certainty becomes today's confusion. If your success depends on things staying stable, you're setting yourself up for frustration. The real strength lies in adaptability, the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn without losing your sense of direction. The most successful people aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the most flexible. They understand that when life changes, they must evolve too. They don't resist change. They ride it. When you look at great entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, or leaders, you'll see this pattern clearly. They all started with a decision, but that decision didn't protect them from failure, rejection, or uncertainty. What made them different was their ability to adapt without losing purpose. They listened, observed, adjusted, and grew. They made mistakes, analyzed them, and transformed those lessons into fuel for the next move. Adaptation isn't weakness. It's the highest form of intelligence in motion. It's the humility to say, I was wrong, and the courage to say, but now I know better. Psychologically, adaptability demands emotional maturity. Most people cling to old ways because change threatens their sense of identity. They fear that adapting means abandoning who they are. But in reality, true identity is not static. It's a living concept. Growth doesn't erase you, it refines you. When you adapt, you're not betraying your past. You're honoring your potential. You're acknowledging that wisdom is not about being right all the time, but about staying open to what's true right now. Philosophically, adaptation is an act of humility before life. It's admitting that you don't control the external world. You only control how you respond to it, and that response determines your future. People often resist change because it makes them uncomfortable, but discomfort is a teacher. It's life's way of showing you where you've outgrown your current level. If you can sit with discomfort long enough to learn from it instead of escaping it, you evolve. Every major breakthrough in life begins with a period of discomfort that demanded adaptation. Think of it this way: success is like navigating the ocean. You can't control the wind or the waves, but you can adjust your sails. Those who refuse to adapt are like sailors who curse the storm instead of steering through it. They waste their energy fighting reality. But those who adjust, who keep their eyes on the destination and their hands on the wheel, always find a way through. They may not arrive the way they imagined, but they arrive stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. Even in failure, adaptability turns defeat into insight. Every setback contains a seed of redirection. When something doesn't work, it's not the end, it's feedback. It's information that guides your next move. The people who adapt quickly don't take failure personally. They treat it as part of the process. They ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" And they move forward armed with new understanding. That mindset is what keeps the decision to succeed alive, no matter how difficult the journey becomes. And there's something deeply liberating about that. Once you realize that change isn't your enemy but your greatest ally, fear begins to lose its power. You stop trying to predict every outcome and start learning how to respond skillfully to whatever comes your way. You stop being rigid and start being resilient. You begin to see success not as a destination but as a moving target that evolves with you. Because in the end, success doesn't belong to those who never fall, it belongs to those who keep rising differently each time. The decision to succeed is only as strong as your willingness to adapt. The world changes, and so must you. The one who adapts fastest wins, not by chance, but by choice. In the end, everything about success comes down to responsibility. Not just the kind of responsibility that society talks about, the duty to your job, your family, or your commitments, but the deeper kind that shapes your destiny, personal responsibility for your own life. The moment you decide that no one else is coming to save you, no one else is responsible for your results, and no one else owes you anything, that's the moment you begin to grow. That's when your decision to succeed becomes real. Most people make the mistake of placing their success in someone else's hands. They blame their parents for not giving them enough, the economy for being unfair, or luck for not favoring them. But success doesn't grow in the soil of excuses. It grows in the soil of ownership. The greatest shift happens when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can I do about it?" That simple change in thinking turns victims into visionaries. Taking full responsibility doesn't mean life becomes easier. It means you become stronger. It means that even when the odds are against you, you recognize that your response is still your choice. Every challenge is a test of ownership. Do you complain, or do you create? Do you wait, or do you work? Responsibility isn't a burden, it's power. Because when you claim ownership, you also claim control. You stop being a passenger and start being the driver. Psychologically, this is the most empowering shift a person can experience. When you see yourself as the cause, not the effect, your mind reorganizes itself around possibility. You no longer see problems as punishment, you see them as platforms to grow. You begin to operate with agency, with the understanding that while you can't control everything, you can always control something. That sense of control is the foundation of confidence. It's not about arrogance, it's about awareness. Awareness that your choices, not your circumstances, define your future. Philosophically, responsibility is the highest expression of freedom. Because true freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want, it's the discipline to do what you must, even when you don't feel like it. Freedom without responsibility is chaos. Responsibility without freedom is slavery. But when you combine the two, you reach mastery. You become someone who doesn't just react to life, but shapes it consciously. You begin to live with intention rather than impulse. Look at every great leader, every innovator, every person who built something meaningful. They all shared this mindset. They didn't blame, they didn't wait, they didn't depend. They took ownership of their ideas, their mistakes, their growth. They faced the consequences of their actions, learned from them, and moved forward. That's what separates those who talk about success from those who live it. And responsibility also means being honest with yourself. It means admitting when you're wrong, when you're lazy, when you're avoiding the truth. Most people avoid that kind of honesty because it's uncomfortable, but comfort never created greatness. Growth demands truth. And truth begins with taking responsibility for where you are right now, no matter how far from your goal that may be. Because the moment you take ownership, you regain your power to change, even when life feels unfair. And sometimes it will. Responsibility gives you back your leverage. It tells you, I can still choose how to respond, I can still grow through this. That attitude transforms adversity into opportunity. It turns frustration into focus. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is never their situation. It's their level of ownership. And maybe that's the most profound realization of all, that success isn't something given to you. It's something you accept responsibility for creating. You decide who you want to be, you act on it, you adapt along the way, and you own every result, good or bad. That's how success is built, not by chance, but by choice, by responsibility, and by relentless self-accountability. So stop waiting for someone to fix your life, stop expecting conditions to change before you do. Everything changes when you realize success isn't something that happens. It's something you decide and take responsibility for every single day. Asterisk asterisk, because the moment you take full responsibility for your life, you no longer wait for success. You become it. Asterisk asterisk.